Malaysia's strong vehicle sales in 2025? Is the EV surge set to continue? And how much of this growth is truly local? What trends will shape the industry's direction this year? With costs and policies evolving, where is the industry headed next? I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Money Matters. Hello there, good evening and welcome to Money Matters on your favorite channel TV3, which you can also stream on Tonton. Now today on the show we're taking a look at the automotive industry in Malaysia. With strong vehicle sales and a surge in interest for EV, what does it mean for Malaysia in the long run? Now helping us to unpack all of this today is President of the Malaysian Automotive Association, MAA, Mohd Shamsor Mohd Zain. Shamsor, hi, thank you so much for joining us on Money Matters.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure, actually. Right. Now, straight off the bat, let's just talk about the performance of sales for vehicles in Malaysia. Now, 2025 actually saw strong vehicle sales for the country. Yes. What were some of the key drivers behind that performance, do you think?
Well, there are several factors that has created a much more stronger sales in 2025. Actually, it's actually a momentum carried forward from 2024 and so on.
Okay.
But what happened was that there was also very aggressive promotional activities towards the end of the year. That has actually created a much more enhanced sales activity towards the end. There's also basically so-called events of pull forward purchase for especially for the EV electric car, basically due to the end or the expiry of the incentives. So that has also created a strong push. Additionally, also a very strong national brand sales in 2025 has also impacted or created a much more bigger sales volume for 2025.
Okay.
Of course, last year was a very record year. Basically, the last quarter was actually a record year for automotive sales in Malaysia, and December was actually the highest sales so far.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about EV. Now, that has shown a strong interest in recent times. But if we strip out the pre-incentives for EV registrations, how would the underlying demand look for EV?
Well, as far as EVs are concerned, total sales, if I'm not mistaken, is about 69,000 in terms of the total XEV, hybrid EV and so on, in terms of the XEV variant. So basically, there was a 52% growth last year. And it's actually, in terms of MAA data, it has accounted to about 8.5% of the total 2025 TIV. In terms of the EVs alone, they contribute to 3.8% of the TIV, or about 30,800 units. So if you take that off and then you minus basically the national car, because we have also, towards the second half of last year, the national car BEVs was also introduced.
Yeah.
And if you take into that account, basically there will be a slight dip in terms of, if you're talking about non-national BEVs. So I would say yes, the pre-incentive actually helped, we would not have achieved more than 800,000 sales last year if there was no such support for the incentives.
All right, amazing. Right. Now, if we look at the current financing situations and also taking in some other factors such as household debt, for instance, how has the demand for vehicle sales been in the early phase of 2026, do you think? Okay.
January 2026, as far as the data is concerned, it's actually 27% year-on-year higher compared to 2025. And this is actually, of course, supported by spillover from the late 2025 basically launches in terms of the backlog deliveries and so on. So that actually has created much more so-called active sales in January. We don't see basically the elevated household debts is still a major concern. We are seeing that financing conditions are still quite supportive at this current stage. And we are not noticing any kind of slowdown in demand, especially for the national cars.
I see, all right. Now, we want to take a deeper look into the sales that we're talking about, especially for EV sales, and what's the real reason behind this growing interest in recent times. But Shamsor, it's time for us to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be talking more about that. Stick with us. More expert analysis is headed your way on Money Matters after this. welcome back to Money Matters. You're still with me, Azaria Tagaya, and we are continuing our conversation with the president of the Malaysian Automotive Association, Mohd Shamsor Mohd Zain. Now, Shamsor, before the break, we talked a little bit about car sales and also EV. Now, I want to take a deeper look into electric vehicles or EV. Now, the EV registrations actually surged ahead of the incentive changes. So, do you expect that momentum will sustain this year, or what are you thinking about?
Well, I think as far as EV sales is concerned, we are expecting that sales will be moderate, but I don't feel, or we are not expecting any kind of a steep drop in terms of demand, especially basically the demand shifting towards more affordable EVs. You know, I think we have basically imported EV volume may probably be reduced, but with the new so-called production of local CKDs, these will actually be supporting the market in terms of the volume. And also, of course, our national car EVs, which has also very strong demand the last couple of months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at supply chain and also jobs, how much real value creation from EVs is actually happening at the moment locally?
I think right now, in terms of the so-called value creation is concerned, basically most of the creation comes from local assembly in terms of distribution networks and so on. I think as far as advanced or more critical components, Malaysia still remains connected to the global so-called supply chain. So this it needs a few more, mid to long-term years to have that kind of so-called, more local bearing or investment towards the enhancement of the, critical components and so on. But as a start, basically the so-called local development right now is actually helping create that so-called that environment, so that we'll be able to achieve that level of advanced activity in the future.
All right, amazing. Now, if we look at EV sales in Malaysia, especially very recently, so if we look at the graph, it has been showing an uptick. So we have gaining interest day by day, month by month. But is that showing broader consumer interest in general, or is it just early EV adoption in terms of Malaysian users, do you think? From the MAA's perspective, what do you think this says about EV sales?
Okay, the early adopters were actually more of the luxury segment. We see that basically the early adopters are between the age of 35 to 45. But now we are moving more into a much more younger segment, and basically with, as I said earlier, with the introduction of local product or local CKDs, as well as also the national makes, especially from Proton and even Produa. So the spread is much more wider base in terms of the market. So we are expecting that there will be growing interest from the corporate segments also. So this is also another segment that may have a big potential in terms of the demand for EVs.
Okay, so moving ahead, especially in this year, 2026, do you think you can see it stabilizing or perhaps showing a bit more surge and uptake in demand?
I would say, yeah. We are expecting that the local CKDs will have a much more better performance this year. We are still looking at the numbers of still slight growth. I can't remember what's the target like, but we are expecting a couple of % higher in terms of TIV for total electrified vehicles.
All right, wonderful. Now, Shamsor, it's time for us to take another short break. When we get back, we'll be talking more with MAA about vehicle sales in Malaysia. We're stepping away for just a moment, but there's plenty more for us to discuss, so don't go anywhere. staying with us on Money Matters. Today we have with us here in the studio the president of MAA, Mohd Shamsor Mohd Zain, talking about strong vehicle sales in Malaysia for this year and also the year ahead. Now, Shamsor, in the last segment, we talked more about EV sales. Now I want to look at sales in general. Now, we see that sales have remained firm even as production moderated. So what do you think this actually signals about the supply dynamics?
Well, actually, it shows that the manufacturers or the productions are much more. They manage their production much more prudently. Basically, there's no oversupply situation and so on. So, yeah, you see that the production are much more moderated, but sales are still, in a very, I would say, active, volume-wise. Of course, in certain segments, basically, we have also CBUs or so-called imports that also has covered, the demand in terms of this. So this were slightly offsetting the production volume. But overall, I see that most of the manufacturers, they are much more, they balance their production well against demand.
Okay, now how sensitive would you say car demand is to changes in fuel prices?
Well, fuel prices are, definitely one of the factors in terms of, in terms of influence, especially influence for the higher priced electric vehicles, So. Yeah, of course, with the much more affordable fuel, we will have much more lesser so-called, of course, demand in terms of, electrified vehicles. But yeah, however, basically, the market would be more into much more affordable vehicles rather than just fuel related. So we just see that maybe the total volume might still be almost around there, but in terms of the segments may have a shift. So the sensitivity basically, as I said, it will change, but it will be more of in terms of what level of so-called vehicle segment that the customers are looking for. But not much influence in terms of purchasing, buying, in terms of the value of or the price of the fuel, because basically, as you know, we are still having still concerns or matters in terms of public transportation and so on. So people still need their own vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Shamsor, you've given us a pretty good overview of the current condition in Malaysia and also a little bit about what to expect. But we want to, with a few minutes left on the show, perhaps looking ahead for 2026, what structural changes actually give you confidence or perhaps maybe even a little bit of caution regarding the direction of sales in Malaysia for this year?
Well, basically, policy development in 2026 will be very important. We see that there will be several regulatory as well as also incentive adjustments coming up from the government, which will also take shape in terms of how the companies planning their investments. There will be more and more localization effort as well as product strategies that will be done. Definitely, we encourage and we hope that a much more clearer and more consistent policies that will help the industry in terms of their long-term sustainable way. The other thing is that basically with more and more players entering the market right now, we need to focus more on the efficiency as well as innovation and long-term commitment. This way basically much more the impact of policy changes may differ depending on the company's investment, as well as the scale and depth of in terms of their local participation. So we hope that basically, there will be a concerted effort in terms of the way and how it goes in terms of to support a much more long-term objective or support to the industry. that way we'll be able to actually grow in tandem, in a much more so-called balance among all the players.
All right, definitely, definitely. We hope for that as well.
Yeah.
Now, Shamsor, it has been amazing speaking to you, but that's all the time we have on Money Matters this week. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Mohd Shamsor Mohd Zain, the President of MAA, joining us on Money Matters for the past 30 minutes. And thank you to you as well. If you missed any part of today's episode, you can always catch it up with us on Tonton. And be sure to join us next week, same time, right here on TV3 for more Money Matters. I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.